how to stop tracing and start moving towards drawing freehand? That's what we're looking at in today's video. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Michelle. On this channel, you'll find lots of watercolor, drawing videos like this one, even a little bit of business and motivation for artists too. Please do consider subscribing. If you click the bell icon, you can get notified every time I have a new video for you. Make at least one free video a week here on YouTube with extra content for Patreon subscribers. Now, people often try and shame you for tracing, don't they? They'll say it's cheating. I'm not quite sure what it's cheating at, but anyway, they'll try and shame you for tracing. Now, whilst you shouldn't let people shame you, and there are actually many legitimate reasons for tracing when you're making artwork, you should also try to learn to draw freehand because it's going to be such a big help to the whole process of creating art, including the painting part. It's going to help you with manual dexterity. It's going to help you with accurate mark making. And it's just going to be really, really good for your brain and good for an overall improvement of your results. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people get very scared of drawing and they see it sort of as an all or nothing thing. You can draw or you can't draw. Now, I want you to think about drawing more as if it were learning a language. So let's look at French. I mean, if you're French and you're watching this, then, you pick another language. But let's look at learning to speak French. So you have on one side people that can't speak French, and then you have on the other side people that are fully fluent in French. But there's a whole world in between, isn't there? That you only need to learn a few words of French in order to order a cup of coffee or find your way to a public landmark or the toilets. That's quite important, isn't it? So you see, the whole thing is a process, and it's exactly the same with learning to draw. If you try to stop tracing by throwing yourself fully into freehand drawing, something really complicated, you're likely to have a bad result, a lot of disappointment, and you'll go scuttling back to tracing paper again because, well, this is just something that I can't do. So in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some processes for starting to draw freehand. So we're not going to go straight from tracing and throw ourselves into the deep end of freehand drawing. We're going to look at a few processes to move gradually away from tracing so that you can start to train your brain. And just like speaking French, the more you practice, the better you will get. And even if you never get great at it, even a small improvement is going to help you with the art that you are creating. So the first strategy I have for you to reduce your tracing is to start by tracing larger elements only and putting in details by eye. I'm going to point the camera downwards and show you exactly what I mean. So I'm going to be using trace down paper. This is paper with graphite pencil on the back. It can be a little bit messy because whenever you press on it, particularly when it's a new sheet, which this one isn't, it can make a bit of a mess on your paper. But it's just the easiest thing to use for this video, but any tracing method would be the same. So look at this person here. They're foreshortened because we're viewing them down from the top of the mountain. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to trace around the outline of this person, and then I'm going to put the details in by eye. Now, you can do this for any subject. You could trace the outline of a boat and put the details in. You could trace the outline of a house, but perhaps you could draw the windows in by eye. Or what about the outline of a flower and perhaps an indication of where the center is, and then you draw the rest of the petals in, because there are always some imperfections in a drawing. And really, once you've got the outside shape, goodness, look, it looks like she's made of jelly, isn't she, because of all these wrinkles in her clothing. But once you've got the outside shape and you can look at this, it's pretty easy then to see, where things go, and you can start making a guess of what else is going on in the picture. And it doesn't matter if you don't get it, 100% right, because nobody's really going to know. It's going to allow you just to have a much greater chance of success. But what's happening is you're still getting that workout for your hand and your eye and your brain, because you're still having to do some stuff by yourself. My next strategy for moving away from tracing is to use the grid method of transferring things to your paper. I've done full videos on how to use this method. I'll try and link one of those in the description of this video, but I'll show you briefly how to do it now and why, unlike tracing, it still gives your brain a little bit of a workout and there's still some drawing involved. So let's talk about using the grid system. So the grid system is a way of transferring a layout across. It's fairly slow. I'm only going to show you a small part of it here, but you'll understand the bigger process. So basically you get your photograph. You can either draw a grid directly on top of it. If you don't want to mess it up, you can put that grid on tracing paper. This is quite a cheap tracing paper. There are clearer ones than this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put the grid onto your paper. You're going to physically draw the grid. Now these little squares here, I think they're 2 centimeters. So I could put 2 centimeter squares on my paper. You want to draw as lightly as you can so they erase easily. And then I could just, look at each square, see what's in it, and it makes it easier to draw things in the right place on your paper and not lose that sense of proportion. Or if I want to enlarge, what I can do is just enlarge the squares. So what I've drawn here is I've drawn squares that are 4 centimeters, so we're going much bigger here. And I can look at any 4 squares here and I can transfer those markings across. Now the easiest way to do it, if you want to just fill your paper to the size it is to count how many squares across. So say you've got 5 squares across and however many squares down. Look at the top of your paper and try and figure out if you were to fit 5 squares in there, what would be sort of the maximum size they could be. You could guess, you could say, well, maybe each square is 6 centimeter, and then just measure across 5 times and see if that fits in. If not, go down a bit. You can use a calculator if you want to, divide up. You can use inches, it really doesn't matter. But do make sure they're square, so don't have them square on here and then oblong on your paper, because that will distort your image. And then all you're going to do is you're going to just sort of count across. So if I was drawing this gentleman here, what I'd do is I'd say, well, at the top of my paper, the first thing really of note is the top of his head, and it starts just about in the 2nd square and it comes into the 3rd square here. And then I could come down like this. Let's imagine I was drawing this section here with the football in. So we can see that in this square here, in this top left square, it sort of starts around here, doesn't it? And comes up about here. And then we can see how far across it comes to the next square. It's, really quite large. So we're coming down something like this. And again, we're coming here. We've got other stuff here as well. We can see a little bit of his jacket and his arm, and you want to look at this square here and think, how far across does that jacket come? It's probably a little less than a third, so a third of the way along the square is about here, and we can put his jacket in there, and then we can continue this on here, and we see that it comes round like so. And I can see his coat is coming down here. He's got sort of some kind of zip coming down from his coat. And you basically carry on like that. We can see the top of his arm is up here in this square here. So again, you could sort of roughly estimate where it goes. You might later on, need to sort of smooth things out a little bit to get them looking correct, but it's a really accurate way of transferring markings across. And more importantly, it has 2 advantages over tracing. One is that you can enlarge. The other is that you're still drawing by eye. You're just having a lot of help so that you don't get things in completely the wrong place. At this point, if you're finding this video useful, can I please ask you to click the like button? To click that thumbs up for me. YouTube rewards channels with audience interaction. If you like, share, subscribe, or leave me a comment, YouTube will push this video out to more people. I'm trying to get my channel to 100,000 subscribers. I'm really grateful to all of you who watch me on YouTube. The next strategy I have for you is to sketch something freehand every day with no expectation of any good results whatsoever. So totally apart from the other work that you might be doing, the bigger paintings or drawings, I just want you to spend 5 minutes, grab a piece of paper that doesn't matter, grab a pencil that doesn't matter, or better yet, a pen where you can't even erase your mistakes, and just draw something that you see in your house with no expectation of producing any kind of finished work. Throw it away afterwards if you want to. It's going to give your brain a great workout. So I'm sitting here, I've got my car key in front of me. The thing is, if you never make mistakes, if you never give yourself permission to make mistakes, then you'll never improve your drawing. And if you've always got some huge pressure on you to kind of get everything absolutely right, then it's going to be very difficult for you to progress. So what I'm suggesting here is that you just sketch something every day. Now I've got something small here just because it fits on camera, but equally I could have picked something very large, a vase of flowers, a side table, just something that I see around my house, and just want to sit and sketch it. It could even be the view, it could be the side of the room that is across from you. You could sit and sketch that in roughly. Well, I think I've already messed this bit up, haven't I? I think I've got those proportions slightly wrong. But what this is doing all the time is it's just training your eye to copy what's in front of you. And you haven't got to worry that this is correct in any way. You're just going to use these few minutes just to practice. And that's going to allow you to very gradually improve your drawing. If you wonder what I'm drawing around the side here, we've got this key tucked in here. And that's all I want you to do. Don't even worry about erasing. Don't worry about your mistakes. Just sit and sketch for a few minutes each day. If you don't like the result, just get rid of it. So the next strategy I have for you is once you actually start freehand drawing and doing a whole freehand drawing, I want you to pick subjects with a bit of a margin for error. I'm going to point the camera downwards now and explain what I mean. So let's talk about subjects that allow you for some margin of error. So this isn't a bad subject, is it? There's a door here. It's a fairly simple shaped door. There's lots of bricks and things around, but there's very little perspective going on here. And these bricks are all very strange shapes. This stonework is all very old. You could get away with a lot with this picture. This is a good picture for a beginner. This, on the other hand, is not. It may appear very simple. In some ways, it appears more simple than the picture that I showed you just now, but actually there's an awful lot of perspective going on with these pillars. There's an awful lot of complicated stuff here, and there's an awful lot of symmetry. So if you're just starting out, this is not one that I would choose. Look at this picture here. Again, it looks quite simple, but my goodness, look at all the perspective going on. All of these beach huts sitting at these angles, these rooftops, it's going to be really quite difficult for you to get right. This, on the other hand, is a great subject for beginners. I've actually got a mini course for this one if you're interested in that. I think it's called Bright Chrysanthemums. I take you through every stage of it. I'll pop a link to that down in the description of this video. That's not the point of me showing you this. The point is that this is a much easier drawing subject for you, and that's because these flowers are sort of all pushed in together. They're all out of shape. You can get away with a lot of variations here and nobody will know. Portraits, these are something that you really can't get wrong. These are not great if you're just learning to draw and you're not great at proportions yet. I have got videos on this channel to teach you how to draw faces accurately, but if you're looking for some quick wins, this isn't it. Another one, this one, the perspective looks fairly simple. It looks fairly flat on, but actually there's a lot going on behind these towers here. This one might be quite tricky for a beginner to do. This, on the other hand, is a splendid subject for a beginner. All you've got really is sky, some distant hills. You've got some trees going on here, but if you got them slightly wrong or put them in the wrong place, no one on earth would know. Finally, I've got one here that's kind of in between. So the actual hills and things themselves are fairly easy. The figures are a little bit more difficult. Now, if you're good at figures, you could leave them in. But if you're not great at figures, this would be a good one to draw. You could easily take the figures out and just do the landscape. So it's important to choose subjects that don't have a great deal of symmetry, don't have a great deal of perspective, and where things can be altered slightly or just drawn slightly wrong, to be honest, and nobody is going to notice. Now, if you like the grid system but you found it's very, very time consuming, I have a simpler method for you of getting an idea of where things fit on your paper. It won't exactly size things larger or smaller, but it will give you a good idea of placement and scale and proportion. Let's look at this method next. Now, if you feel you need a bit of guidance, but the grid system is too time consuming, or you just don't think you need to be quite that detailed, I've got a quicker version for you. Now, this one relies on your paper being the exact proportions of your photograph. I've demonstrated that already in several other videos. The video I link to at the end of this video will show you how to do that. It's a simple trick for scaling your photograph and so it's exactly the same proportions as your paper. Once you're on the same proportions, not the same size, mind you, it just has to be the same proportions. What you're going to do then is you're just going to draw a line from corner to corner. Now, again, you do not need to draw directly on your photograph like this. You could use a piece of tracing paper if you prefer, but I've already painted this photograph. And by painted, I mean I've literally painted it. There's paint on it. And it's one of my own photos as well, so I can just print another off. So you're going to go corner to corner each side, and then you want to get a set square and go across. Does not need to be a set square. You just need something with a right angle. A piece of printer paper will do to give you a guideline. You're going to go across and the same the other way. And then you'll do the same thing lightly in pencil on your piece of drawing paper. Now, this is going to give you a lot of useful information. For instance, we can find the exact center point of our picture. Look at this tree. See how it's almost entirely in this triangle here, comes slightly into here, doesn't come all the way across to halfway. Look at the horizon line, we can clearly see it's below halfway. It's maybe a quarter of the way from the top here, perhaps 3/4 of the way up. You might think it's 2/3 of the way, but either way, it's going to give you a real sense of proportion, and it's going to give you some real strong guidelines for placing all the elements in your picture. So the next strategy that you need to try is a mindset strategy, actually, and it's just that you have to let go of the idea of things being perfect. So if you have always traced, it can be quite scary when you start to do a drawing and you realize it's not exactly perfect, it's not exactly the same as the thing you're looking at. You need to ask yourself, does this actually matter? So we're talking about this when we looked at subjects that have a bit of a margin for error. If you're drawing a rose and it looks quite different to the rose that you're working from, just ask yourself, does it still look like a rose? Does it still look nice? Am I happy enough with it? Don't always be comparing to exactly what you're looking at in front of you, because the person that's looking at your work will never know. One thing that amateur artists do, the professional artists never do, is they point out their mistakes. They show someone something they've done and they say, here's a rose that I've drawn, but I got the side of it completely wrong. Or they say, I didn't draw enough leaves. Or they say, I think it had a lot more shadow than this. Just don't tell people that stuff. Why would you? When you're creating artwork by eye, it needs to have a bit of your personality, it needs to have a few imperfections. You could go back and look at any of the big artists. I went to a Van Gogh exhibition, and when I looked at some of his early work, have a look at some of the chairs that he did. Those famous paintings of chairs. The perspective is awful, but it's still a fantastic painting because it's all about the feeling. So whilst there are some subjects that it's really hard to get wrong, you don't want to draw a suspension bridge and get it looking like it wouldn't hold any cars up, but at the same time, you don't want to over-obsess about perfection. So my next strategy is all about using tracing, but not transferring it across. Now, why on earth would you do this? It's because when we look at things, we have such a lot of information. We've got light, we've got dark, we've got colours. We can even be distracted from the sounds around us when we're working from life. And especially when we're looking at something that's got a lot of foreshortening or a very strong perspective on it, it can be really hard to get your brain to filter out all of the other information and just see the basic shape of the thing you're trying to draw. So I'm going to show you how to do this, and we're going to just trace in order that the shape of the object becomes clearer to us. It's going to make it easier for you to draw it freehand. So let's look at tracing not as a method of transferring across, but as a method of understanding what you're looking at. So look at this lady here. She's sitting in, a very scrunched up position. It's a very strange camera angle, and it's quite hard to tell what's what. So just by sort of, roughly tracing, and I'm not even, trying to get this exact here. I'm just trying to get an idea of proportions and the overall shape of how she's sitting, because I want to draw her on my paper and I really can't figure out quite how she looks. So what we can do then is we can just use the tracing to remove all of the noise, all of the earrings, the table, the coffee she's holding, everything else that's sort of interrupting things. And we can take it down to this very simple image. Let me lay it against white so you can see it. And here we are. So we don't need to actually transfer it across, but this has given us some really good information. We've cut out all of that background noise. Look how big her head is, head to shoulders. If we were to measure this, it only goes into the body maybe 1.5 times, perhaps a little bit more. You can see the angle of the shoulders here. You can see how small this hand is because of the foreshortening that's going on. You can see how it relates to the head. You can see how large this area here where her hips are is, how small the front of her leg looks. And all of this is because of perspective and foreshortening and all sorts of other things going on. But by tracing like this and just looking at that, it's going to give us a great idea of how to draw it. We could have it next to us when we sketch. So do let me know in the comments which one of these strategies you like the best, and if you're going to give any of these things a try, because you can learn to draw, you can move away from tracing paper, or even just have less reliance on it. I've got a whole playlist on this channel full of drawing videos. I've also got paid tutorials and courses that you can take, including a complete beginner's drawing course. You'll find details of all of those in the video description, and do have a look down there because there are some free PDFs that you can grab. There's also a free watercolour painting course that you can take for no money whatsoever. It includes the drawing part too. And if you enjoyed this video, you're going to enjoy my 20 fast drawing tricks video. They're simple tricks that anyone can do. They don't take any talent whatsoever, and they're going to improve your drawing today. You can watch that video right now.